Well, I've got a random boat on the radar here, and he is getting right into our gear.
Captains Keith and Jonathan wall off the Russian trawler from plundering U.S. waters.
Deadliest catch crew uncovers hidden government secrets at a mysterious location. Out of nowhere, Captain Johnny and his crew were staring down the barrels of Russian naval guns on the open sea. Their fishing trip on the Wizard turned into a nightmare, with their lives and livelihood under direct threat. What if this was more than just a trespass? Let's dig into the dark mysteries lurking far offshore. A standoff in the Bering Sea. Just as Captain Johnny took charge of the Wizard, he spotted a Russian boat sneaking into their prized fishing grounds. This wasn't just breaking the unwritten rules of the sea, it also threatened their way of earning a living. Captain Johnny and his crew knew they couldn't back down, so they braced themselves for a tough confrontation. But as the fog rolled in and the Russian boat loomed closer, Captain Johnny felt a chill. This was no ordinary face-off. Something far darker was at play. Something that could shatter everything they held dear.
3, 2, 1. Light him up!
"Rick, we've got another boat coming into our area," Johnny called out. As they started thinking of ways to stop the trespassers, things suddenly took a turn for the worse. A large Russian naval fleet showed up, armed to the teeth, and pointed their weapons at the smaller American boats. As we dive into the story of the Wizard's crew facing off against an illegal poaching ship in the dangerous waters of the Deadliest Catch, the tension rises. The cold wind stung Captain Keith's face as he realized how serious the situation was. He quickly teamed up with Captain Johnny, and together they came up with a risky plan to challenge the intruder. Their plan was simple but dangerous. Move the Wizard to block the poacher's path, standing firm on their claim to the fishing grounds without pushing the situation into violence.
That doesn't scare this guy away, nothing will.
Oh, hell yeah.
It was like a high-stakes game of chess on the open sea, with each captain trying to guess the other's next move. But then, things got even more intense. The Russian naval fleet's sudden arrival turned the situation into a tense standoff. With missiles aimed at their small American boats, the stakes skyrocketed. This wasn't just about fishing anymore. It was a matter of national pride and international tension. The Wizard and its crew found themselves outgunned and outnumbered, facing an enemy that could threaten not just their catch, but their very lives. The crew had to dig deep, relying on Captain Johnny's experience with the Bering Sea. They skillfully navigated the icy waters, using the fog to hide from the naval ships in a dangerous game of cat and mouse. Despite the risk of a deadly clash, the crew of the Wizard, hardened by years on the unforgiving sea, held their ground. They knew the local waters well and used this knowledge to outsmart the much larger fleet, all without firing a single shot. This battle was more than just protecting their fishing spot. It was a statement of their right to make a living from the sea. "These are our waters, and we don't run from anyone," Captain Johnny declared. The face-off with the poaching vessel and the Russian fleet highlighted the crew's bravery, quick thinking, and unshakable determination. Their main goal was to find the illegal ship and claim their rightful place in the tough and dangerous fishing world. Keith and his crew set out to what was known as the best spot for crab fishing, a place where the sea was full of the most valuable crabs. The challenge was huge, requiring not just skill, but also a deep understanding of how the sea behaves, which can be very unpredictable. As they guided their boat, the Wizard, through rough waters, Keith kept a sharp lookout for the perfect place to drop their 250 crab pots. The timing had to be just right. If they did it too early, the pots might come up empty, and if they waited too long, the crabs could move on. Waiting to drop the pots wasn't just being careful. It was a crucial part of their strategy in this high-risk job. But the journey was filled with dangers. Unfamiliar ships appeared on the horizon, and one of them didn't signal its position, which could mean illegal activity. In response, Keith and his first mate Rick quickly decided to change their course and turn off their own signal to avoid any potential trouble. The calm seas bring a new test for the crew. The battle for the Bering Sea's bounty. Setting, monitoring, and retrieving the crab pots required careful attention and years of experience. Once they found a promising spot, the crew jumped into action. The heavy pots, filled with hopes for a good catch, were carefully dropped into the cold, deep waters. "This is tough work, guys," Keith would shout, already looking for the next spot on the map. After that, the crew faced a tense wait, filled with anticipation, before the crucial moment of pulling the pots back up. This was a delicate dance with the ocean, testing their endurance and precision. They had to keep a close eye on the pot locations, adjust for changing currents and weather, and handle the physical strain of lifting the heavy catches.
There's some illegal fishing going on. These are our grounds. Wizard runs from nobody.
Each time a pot was pulled from the water, it was a victory. Every crab they caught was hard-earned. Through it all, Captain Keith and Rick used their years of experience along with new strategies, showing their unwavering commitment to catching the riches of the Bering Sea. But this wasn't just about fishing, it was a battle against nature, a risky venture where careful planning, skill, and determination made the difference between success and failure. As they moved across the icy waters of the Bering Sea, the area became more like a battleground. Captain Keith and the determined Rick faced not only the natural challenges of their job, but also human threats like sabotage and illegal fishing. The discovery of these dishonest practices was a turning point in their journey, revealing a darker side to their industry that put their catch and their livelihood at risk. This added a new level of intensity to their adventure, combining the struggle to gather the sea's bounty with the fight to protect their territory from sneaky competitors. These events weren't just unlucky accidents. They were deliberate acts by people who wanted to steal the sea's treasures. Keith and Rick saw this as a direct challenge, not just to their livelihood, but to their rights, traditions, and the long-standing practices of the Bering Sea community. They believed that giving in wouldn't just hurt their earnings, but would also mean handing over their waters to those who would destroy them without thinking about the damage. This situation brought to light a serious problem that fishermen around the world face: the threat of illegal fishing. These illegal activities not only reduce the number of fish, but also harm the efforts of those who fish legally. The impact on local fishermen is severe. Fewer catches mean financial stress, broken traditions, and an uncertain future. By standing up to this threat, Keith and Rick became symbols of resistance, fighting not just for themselves, but for the entire fishing community that relies on the sea to support their families. Their struggle in the Bering Sea was a stark reminder of the broader battle to protect the oceans. Jake Anderson's experiences in the same sea echo this story as he faced the harsh reality of fishing for black cod, a job full of danger and uncertainty. Jake, a seasoned fisherman, was used to the biting cold, giant waves, and long hours. But nothing prepared him for the disaster that struck when a huge cargo ship, carelessly moving through the fishing zone, destroyed his fishing gear. This disaster wasn't just a small setback, it was a devastating blow to Jake's fishing season, putting his and his crew's livelihood at risk.
You know how many pots I've ran over? Never one! The buoys are fire engine red! How the did he do that?
The aftermath was chaotic and heartbreaking as hundreds of his pots, each one representing his investment and hope, were lost to the sea, dragged away by the ship. The financial loss was huge, but the emotional impact was even greater, testing Jake's spirit and his crew's morale. After a setback, it's time for a bold new plan: Jake's bold recovery. In this moment of crisis, Jake's true character emerged. Refusing to give up, he devised a clever plan to recover what was lost. Using his extensive experience and determination, Jake came up with a daring salvage strategy. It was a risky move, requiring great courage and effort, but it showed just how committed he was to overcoming the odds and reclaiming what the sea had taken. In the deep, dark ocean, Jake and his crew faced a tough challenge. The sea had grabbed their equipment, and it took all their courage, skill, and teamwork to get it back. Jake, determined not to give up, inspired his team, giving them a glimmer of hope in a tough situation. Together they worked hard, fighting against the strong pull of the sea to retrieve their crab pots. But it wasn't just about getting their gear back. It showed their strength and the strong bond they had formed by facing tough times together. Even though the odds were against them, Jake's plan worked. The crew managed to recover a lot of their equipment and, with it, a part of their threatened livelihood. This wasn't just about money. It was a victory that lifted their spirits and proved their creativity, toughness, and dedication to their work. But that wasn't the only battle they were facing. The larger maritime community was dealing with its own dangers. Piracy was disrupting trade and putting the lives of those at sea at great risk. However, the community didn't just sit back and accept it. They came up with new strategies and technologies to protect their ships and cargo from pirate attacks. Cargo ships, often targeted by pirates for their valuable goods, were now equipped with non-lethal defenses. One of the most impressive measures was the use of water cannons, which could release powerful streams of water to push back and confuse attackers, stopping them from boarding. In addition, advanced devices like the long-range acoustic device were deployed. This device emitted a high-pitched sound that was so unbearable it effectively kept pirates away, acting as a sound barrier for the ships. Ships also used more subtle tactics to protect themselves. They installed razor wire along railings to make boarding difficult, and they placed mannequins around the ship to create the illusion of a larger crew, a simple but smart way to discourage potential attackers. These measures created a layered defense system that significantly improved a ship's ability to avoid attacks. But these tactics weren't without controversy. The use of non-lethal defenses like the LRAD raised questions within the maritime industry about their long-term effectiveness and whether they were truly ethical. Some worried that devices like the LRAD could still cause harm, leading to debates about finding the right balance between protecting crew members and staying ethical. However, many believed that if these measures could save lives without causing fatalities, they were worth using. Through all these challenges, whether personal or shared with the broader community, strong bonds were formed among those who sailed these difficult waters. Crews became like families, sharing not just their work and meals, but also the emotional weight of being away from home and the joy of successful hauls. This special camaraderie, built through hard work and facing storms together, highlighted the shared experiences of life at sea, where every success and failure was felt by all. In the cold, harsh waters of the Bering Sea, friendship and teamwork aren't just nice to have, they're absolutely necessary.
We got it, Jake! We got it, bro!
The strong bonds between fishermen helped them get through the roughest storms and the darkest, most challenging hours. For these fishermen, their work isn't just a job, it's a deeply rooted tradition passed down through generations. Families with long histories in fishing proudly continue the work of their ancestors, each new generation adding their own stories to the rich history of the sea. Past victories lead to new challenges. The dual nature of the sea's embrace. This connection to the past isn't just about feeling proud. It also guides them through their daily lives and gives them hope for the future. But the sea isn't always a kind protector. It can be generous, but it can also be cruel. Every fisherman has their own story of loss, times when they faced the sea's fury with nothing but their own determination. Stories of ships swallowed by sudden storms, miraculous survivals, and the haunting silence of those who never made it home are all too common. But these tales of sorrow are balanced by incredible stories of triumph. Communities come together in the face of disaster, pulling off amazing catches that turn a bad season around and finding the strength to head back out to sea, even with the deep emotional and physical scars left by past tragedies. Living off the sea is a constant cycle of challenges and rewards. The harsh conditions take a toll, both physically and mentally, on those who face them. But it's in these tough moments, and through the strong bonds among the crew, that the true spirit of life at sea comes alive. This life is ruled by the rhythm of the tides, with each new day bringing fresh challenges, resilience, and a hope for the next big catch. But the real test is 650 miles northwest of Dutch Harbor, near the tense maritime border with Russia. Here, the crew of the fishing vessel Wizard is preparing for the Opilio crab season. Despite the tension with a large Russian trawler that could damage their fishing gear and the seabed, Captain Keith Cow, the leader of the Wizard, remains hopeful. He has done well in these waters before, and he's eager to drop his gear and bring in 200,000 pounds of crab. As they set their pots, they feel the added stress of the nearby Russian military buildup along the Ukrainian border. But for now, their focus is on the wealth that lies beneath the icy waves. Soon, their efforts are disrupted by the Russian trawler, which moves their gear, causing significant financial and operational problems. Frustrated and worried about more disruptions, Captain Keith reaches out to another captain, Johnny from the fishing vessel Time Bandit. Together, they come up with a plan to protect their fishing grounds. They decide to arrange their crab pots in a tight grid, creating a physical barrier that will make it harder for the Russian trawler to navigate and help safeguard their area. This act of unity does more than just protect their fishing rights. It also sparks a sense of patriotic pride. As they raise the American flag, they show their determination to hold on to their rightful place in these contested waters.
It's a beautiful thing, the American flag. It's a beautiful thing.
Their joint effort, called Operation Anvil Drop, is aimed at securing the U.S. side of the border for their crab fishing. As they drop pot after pot, the bond between the American crews grows stronger. Their spirits lift with a shared sense of duty and the joy of standing together to defend their nation's waters. The air fills with jokes and laughter, a clear sign of their enduring spirit and dedication to their way of life. As the crew of the Whiz Wizard sailed through rough seas, they faced a major challenge. Strong currents were pushing their ship toward Russian waters. If they crossed into those waters, it could cause serious international problems. With careful steering and a good understanding of the political risks, they managed to avoid crossing the border. Their success in setting up a blockade without breaking any rules showed how skilled and cooperative they were, standing strong against both the tough environment of the Bering Sea and the pressures of global politics. Another hurdle awaits as success brings more obstacles. Secrets of the silent boat. The fishermen, dependent on the sea for their livelihood, displayed remarkable resilience and teamwork. As they confronted a new challenge, they spotted an unidentified boat lurking near their crabbing areas. This boat did not broadcast signals from its automatic identification system, raising suspicions among the crew. Concerned it might be stealing their crabs or involved in illicit activities, the skippers orchestrated a strategic maneuver. They led the mysterious boat on a wild chase, maintaining their own signals initially, then abruptly shutting them off in an attempt to elude the follower and safeguard their fishing territory. This move was risky. If the chase didn't work and their fishing failed, it could hurt their reputation. However, when they later pulled up their crab pots, the strategy paid off with a big catch. But the happiness didn't last long. The joy of a successful catch quickly turned to concern when they realized one crucial pot was missing. This wasn't just a small problem, it pointed to a bigger issue. As they searched for the missing pot, they found something troubling. The clean, natural environment of the ocean was being damaged by illegal fishing. Their missing pot was tangled up in nets, lines, and debris, clear evidence of the environmental damage and illegal activities happening in American waters. This discovery brought to light a growing problem that overshadowed their successes. Faced with the reality of illegal fishing and its harmful effects on marine ecosystems, the fishermen felt a stronger sense of responsibility. It wasn't just about their income anymore. It was about protecting the oceans. They started working more closely with policymakers, environmental groups, and the community to push for stricter rules against illegal fishing and to protect the marine environment. Their efforts were not just about securing their future, but also about making sure that the ocean would remain healthy for future generations, showing that even in the vast, often harsh ocean, staying alert and working together could make a real difference. As their hard work started to show results, the captains became determined to protect their fishing areas. They decided to keep a close watch over the territory, ready to spot any intruders.
If you were willing to come down here and work with me, we could literally build a wall.
Their vigilance paid off when they noticed another boat trying to sneak in with its lights off, hoping to go unnoticed. The captains waited for the right moment to confront the trespasser. Tension grew until suddenly they turned on their lights and fired warning shots, a clear message for the intruder to leave. Startled, the other boat quickly turned around and fled, realizing it wasn't welcome in these waters. Monty, one of the crew members, was in charge of fixing a broken pipe under the boat. The stakes were high because any mistake could cause the boat to sink, putting everyone's lives in danger. The crew wrapped the damaged pipe with rubber and clamps, praying it would hold up against the storm. Luckily, the quick fix worked, and they avoided disaster, showing just how skilled and determined they were in the face of danger. With the immediate threat behind them, the crew, led by Captain Keith, felt a renewed sense of purpose and togetherness. They were in the middle of a fierce storm, battling the sea as they set out on a daring fishing trip. As the storm raged on, they felt more and more isolated. The unpredictable weather of the Bering Sea turned it into a place where success and disaster were constantly hanging in the balance. In the midst of the chaos, a huge wave crashed over the boat, a stark reminder of just how powerful and unpredictable the sea could be. Knowing the dangers all too well, Keith urged his crew to stay on high alert. They carefully positioned their fishing gear, aware that the approaching ice was a serious threat. Yet, the storm's direction offered them a brief break, keeping the ice away for a moment. This short window was crucial, a chance to catch their haul without worrying about getting trapped by the ice. As the storm continued to rage, the crew managed to pull in a large haul of crabs, proof of their hard work and the sea's generosity. The mood lightened a bit with their success, but the sea was still a tricky opponent. The winds changed direction, bringing a new challenge. What had once helped them by keeping the ice away now turned against them, whipping up massive waves that threatened to overwhelm the boat. Yet, despite nature's relentless assault, the fishermen's spirits remained strong. They pushed forward, motivated by the promise of a good catch and a determination to overcome the sea's challenges. As they navigated through towering waves and dodged ice flows, the reality of their dangerous job became clear. Every crab, every successful haul was earned through sheer effort, determination, and a willingness to face the sea's fury head-on. The journey was an emotional roller coaster, from the highs of a successful catch to the lows of fighting against the elements. Through it all, Captain Keith and his crew showed an unbreakable bond, a deep understanding of the sea's ways and a respect for its power. As their journey neared its end, they took a moment to reflect on what they had been through. They had survived the storm, faced down the ice, and come out on top, but not without paying a price. The Bering Sea, with all its beauty and danger, had once again proven to be a powerful opponent. Did the crew's sacrifices make it worthwhile? Like, comment, and subscribe for more.